So, happiness isn't random. Happiness is actually a daily practice. And today, on this episode of the Movement, Mind, and Meaning podcast, we're going to dive into three essential ingredients that you can start to use as soon as today to boost your happiness level, to boost your energy level, to boost your creativity, your flow, that feel good vibe that you love to float around the world in. And so this is my first time doing this on LinkedIn. So not gonna lie, this might not even be working. So we shall see. I don't see it on there. It says I'm live, but let's just roll with it here, shall we? Okay. Yeah, something we learn about ourselves, right? And so, anyways, happiness. It is not random. And it is probably, if would hazard a guess, probably one of your most favorite ways of feeling, right? Am I right? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. Send me a DM. I'd love to know. So before we get into the three essential ingredients that are really key foundational elements of my work and the work I do inside the Power Pause movement, if we haven't met yet, hi, aloha. My name is Megan Nolan, and I help event organizers 10x attendee energy in just 3 minutes at a time using my Power Pause method. And today we're going to be talking about some of the tools that are intrinsically woven into that method. We're not going to talk about the method itself. Maybe we will. I don't want to spoil it, but we're going to dive into three key things that are foundational on the level of your body, on your being, and for longevity, for sustainability in your success and in your world and in the outcomes that you are here to make, the impact that you are here to make. And so, what we're going to talk about today is actually the name of this show. I figured, this is my first time doing this on LinkedIn. So let's go back to basics, baby, and talk about three key things that are so foundational to life, to health, to happiness, and to all of that. And they are movement, mind, and meaning. So let me tell you something that you may have not considered today. Maybe you've forgotten. Maybe no one's even ever said this to you. I need you to lean in for this. This part's good. You are not a rock. Blink, blink. You are not a rock. Obviously, Megan, go somewhere with this. What are you meaning by this, Megan? Darling, you are a human being. And in my world, and perhaps you agree, maybe this is the first time you've heard this, you are a spiritual being, you are energy having a human experience. You are a human being, right? And you're not a rock, which means movement is essential. Movement is essential for the longevity of your physical body, which is the beautiful vehicle that you get to navigate this journey that is life inside of. For it to be thriving, for it to sleep well tonight, for you to be able to do the things you need to do as a human being, but you're not a human doing and you're not a rock. Let me say more. Neurochemically, in order for you to be in a place where you are in a success mindset, a growth mindset, we need oxygen, we need nourishment, we need blood flow throughout your entire body. And do you know one of the fastest and most effective ways to do that? I know you're so smart. Movement. Yes, movement, movement, movement. And so the thing is that sitting, although it's a very, common part of our daily lives and very common part of events, right? We go into the ballroom and we sit down, we go to the bathroom, we come back, we sit down. There's a lot of sitting in our life, right? Anywhere between the average North American, this is, definitely there's differentials around the world, but in North America, the average North American sits between 6 and 8 hours a day. And depending on their profession, then that can be upwards of 10 to 12 hours a day if they have a quote unquote desk job, right? And so that's really something for us to consider. And you've heard probably by now, sitting is the new smoking because it's associated with a whole plethora of chronic diseases and issues, aches, pains, problems, right? And so, what can we do if we need to sit, right? If it's part of our day, it's part of the design of the events, we get up more. And we want to make sure to have these movement breaks throughout the day because starting your day with movement, which is a huge part of what we do and is absolutely one of the habits of happy human beings, is a morning routine that really sets you up for feeling vibrant and energized and healthy and happy. But if you go and you do your morning routine and then you just sit and 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 sit, it's called being actively sedentary. Actively sedentary means we are exercising, but then we're sedentary for the bulk of the day. So, going back to my original thesis about you not being a rock, it's really important that we are moving your body throughout the day. A lot of the nourishment up to your brain comes from the movement of your spine. Right. And if you're sitting, we tend to slouch. And when we slouch, we tend to take short, shallow breaths, which triggers stress. Right. And so movement is so beneficial because it's really the most effective way to boost energy levels naturally, which then leads to better ability to focus and pay attention to the task at hand, right? Whether that's writing email copy or listening to the keynote speaker, it's so important that we have nourishment flooding through our body, flowing through our body, right? And that's contraction of the muscles, standing in strong posture. And so there's such a really key connection between taking mini movement breaks throughout the day and staying energized in a really natural way, right? Not getting to the point where you're like, my heart is racing and it feels like it might jump out of my chest because I've had so much caffeine today, and you feel like you're crawling inside your skin or your skin's crawling on top of you. That's what happens to me. I'm caffeine sensitive. So yeah, I get to a point where I'm like, I do not feel good. And yet I'm still tired, right? And so having these strategic movement breaks in place throughout your day is really key. So that's why movement is, I would say, tell me if you agree or not, it's medicine. Medicine in the sense of it being highly effective, it's highly beneficial, it's positive for us. It's medicine for the body, it's medicine for the spirit, right? Think about a time when you've climbed a mountain and you get to the top of the mountain or whatever, partway up, and you're like, yes, look at me go, I'm wonderful, I'm amazing, and you feel that sense of invigoration in your spirit and also in your body. That's really what we're looking for. And I'm not saying that, you need to break up your meeting agenda and like go climb a mountain. I'm just saying that we can access that same energy level through these intentional breaks, right? So that's the first component. There is so much more that I could go into with that about the effect of sitting on your body language, on the brain activity, which we're going to get to in a moment. But let's just talk about how your posture is really communicating a lot of information to other people, right? Because most of our communication is nonverbal, but it's communicating a lot to your own self and to your own mind. And so let's go into mind, right? So we have movement first, the body. Now we're moving into mind. So here's something really interesting is that most of the communication that happens inside your nervous system goes from your body up to your mind. And in fact, 80% of the communication goes from your body up into your brain. That one like blew my mind a little bit. Haha, wink, wink, pun intended. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. It blew my mind a little bit because I thought, well, I really thought the brain would be doing like most of the work. No, no, your brain's amazing. It's a supercomputer. We're going to talk more about it in a moment, but there's a difference between your brain and your mind, right? Like your brain itself, the organ of your brain is doing a lot, but there's so much information coming from your body, and a lot of it has to do with how you're breathing. A lot of it has to do with the posture that you're in and what you're paying attention to, because your nervous system is constantly receiving and interpreting information from your surroundings, right? Because it has one job, and that's survival. So it's interpreting information from your surroundings as well as from inside your body. And the way you hold yourself gives a significant amount of information because of the way that you are breathing. When we sit, we tend to slouch. When we slouch, we take short, shallow breaths, which triggers the activation of the stress response in our body. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? So when we inadvertently are triggering stress by sitting and slouching and just in that weaker, collapsed posture, your brain is receiving the message, whoa, I don't know what's going on, but we are stressed about something. We got to be on alert here, watch out here. And we are not focusing on the information that's coming from the person in front of us, right? Maybe it's the speaker on stage or what have you. Your brain is receiving the message of stress and survival mode is activated. And your brain, when it's in survival mode, it shifts gears and shifts blood flow and energy flow into our amygdala, which is your threat detection center. And right now, what's happening when we're in that state is we flip our lid a little bit, and the lid is the bigger part of the brain that's really the higher functioning, the creativity, the mastermind of the brain. And that's our prefrontal cortex, and it's up on front. But it goes offline because your brain's like, no need for masterpiece creation right now, or whatever. We need to focus. We need to stay alive because your body is sending that signal that there's something to be very stressed about. So what happens here is we shift from a success state in the brain to a stress state in the brain, right? And this is when we go into protective patterns of the nervous system, and that's maybe hypervigilance or feeling like we have to control the situation. And these are both biologically wired into our behavior, into our DNA as humans, but there's also personal patterns that have come into play for your own unique nervous system and the way that you handle challenges. We're not going to go into that today, but it's really how stress expresses in our life. And so for some of us, we go into fight mode, right? And some of us are very like, all right, let's make it happen. Let's go. Let's go. We should have done it yesterday. Like pushing through, powering through when we're tired. Some of us, we go into flight mode and we're like, oh my God, I'm not doing it. I got to put it off. And then we leave it and we procrastinate, right? So these are behavioral patterns that are expressions of the wiring of your nervous system. We're not going to go too far into it, but just know that it's biologically wired. But then, because you're a unique expression of the divine universe, you have your own unique flavors of that. We have a lot of similarities, right? We are more alike than we are unalike, Maya Angelou said, but you're a unique snowflake and you do things your own way. We can talk about that. If you have questions, let me know. Anyways, so I want to make sure I'm staying close to time here. So we have movement, then we have mind. Hey, thumbs up. And what we want to make sure here is that you are learning to run your mind rather than having your mind run you. Okay? We have upwards of 60 to 70,000 thoughts every day. Most of them were the same ones you had yesterday. So what we want to learn to do is intentionally choose your thoughts. Intentionally choose your thoughts. What does that mean? That's called metacognition. It means thinking about what you're thinking about. Because if you're in a stress state, your brain is perceiving and looking for any threats, any problems, any potential issues that might be quote unquote dangerous, right? And so it tends to fixate on the faults, flaws, and problems, which is called your negativity bias, right? And so again, it's just something to be aware of, but you can choose your thoughts. When you have a big, expansive vision for your life, you know your North Star emotions, like the way that you want to feel every day, including happiness, probably. You can use your mind to focus on that, right? And so that's so important is that you can choose to control your mind rather than it controlling you. And you don't necessarily need to believe all the thoughts you think because a lot of them are rooted in the past and some of them are rooted in that protective patterning of the nervous system of not screwing up, not making mistakes, not getting on stage and forgetting what you were supposed to say. So it's like, don't do that. Don't put yourself out there, whatever it is, right? And so we want to become more aware, more cognizant of what we are thinking about because what we focus on grows. Right? So that's really why the mind is so important. So when we make sure that the body is thriving and it gives that nourishment up to the mind and up to the brain, then we are in a more activated, expansive state in the nervous system, right? We're in that regulated, connected state called the ventral vagal state. We don't need to get fancy, but it's about all influenced by the polyvagal theory and understanding of your nervous system. And so when we are in that state, you have the ability to get up and go. You have the ability to relax and rest. So it's that access to all of your gifts, all of your talents is accessible when the mind is in that focused and clear state. But if the mind is constantly running rampant and just in there squawking like the collection of angry seagulls that it tends to like to do, then it can be running amok, right? And that's why it's so important to learn to witness your thoughts and come back to the place of focus. And so, last piece that I wanted to leave you with today, we have movement, we have mind, and we have meaning. What are you doing to infuse things with more intention? What are you giving your attention to, right? I like to call that your original AI, placing your attention on your intention. What is your vision for your life? What are your North Star emotions that you want to drop into and feel and embody? Who are you at your deepest core? And how do you want to show up every day? Whether that's to get on stage or to facilitate the event or to meet people at the door or to talk to your child. How do you want to do that? And how can you bring more presence to that so that it is creating a beautiful ripple effect? Because your energy is everything, right? And for those of us that are entrepreneurs, business owners, really, we have this tendency to pour into things, to give and give and give some more. And everything you do, whether or not you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, everything that you do is a reflection of you. Everything you do is a reflection of you. I don't know. I don't know. Like sometimes I think I'm like Dr. Seuss. I don't know. But the key is learning to infuse what you do from that level of presence. So if your body is grounded and strong and energized, your mind is clear, and you decide how you're going to go into the next moment, which is a key piece of the power pause method, you decide how you're going to show up, the energy that you're going to bring. Are you going to live by design or by default, right? Are you going to let the energy of your vision pull you forward, or are you going to just leave it up to chance? That's where you get to decide, right? And that is the place of power, is that place of decision, because you are far more powerful than you give yourself credit for. And what we want to do is remember that. Have these intentional practices to help you to remember that, right? You are far more powerful than you give yourself credit for. And I feel that in my soul, I am here to remind you of that and remind thousands of people of that, because when you live from that place of intentionality and purpose and presence and power, then it unlocks so much more of you and so much more potential, because you are living in alignment with your true possibility. When you're connected to your deeper why, you're living with your North Star emotions, you're intentionally moving your body to stay in that expansive state, that open state, that aligned state, however you want to call it, right? And we're talking about this simultaneously. I'm talking about this from a scientific, but also a spiritual perspective, because in my world, they're one and the same, right? The more we learn about these ancient practices and the more we learn about the body, the more science is saying, yes, all along, what they've been saying, these wisdom traditions, indigenous cultures have been saying, is scientifically accurate. So it's not woo woo. Let's just stop calling it that, because it's not that. It's actual reality for the most part. I mean, there is some stuff out there, but anyways, that's what I wanted to leave you with today. Dropping into this energy of how powerful you are, how happiness is not random. It's a daily practice, making these intentional choices for yourself and really learning to pause throughout the day to come back to this place of presence and to move your body and do these activations. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. If you would love to experience your own power pause designed and customized just for you, maybe for your group, for your theme, for your team, whatever, then go to takeapowerpause.com and you'll learn more about what power pauses are, the work that I'm doing in the conference and event world, and you can book your customized free complimentary power pause session. So I look forward to seeing you very soon, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Take good care, and remember, you are far more powerful than you give yourself credit for, and you're not a rock. Mwah. Sending you so much love and aloha. Take good care. Bye bye.